Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books. Today we're talking about the total panic over at Disney in their board of directors. Investors are also concerned. They're kind of happy Bob Iger is back, but they're not happy with what mess Bob Chapek created that the board allowed him to create. This is not just Bob Chapek's fault. A lot of it is. A lot of it's the board. A lot of it's Iger. But right now, they're absolutely freaking out. They need to figure out how they're going to fix the company, and they know that the main problem they have is they created a very big streaming business that does not actually make money. Look at this. This is the domestic US streaming service market share. Netflix has 21%, Paramount Plus has 9%, Disney has 15%, HBO Max has 15%. Disney Plus has got a big piece of market share. So why is this a problem? The problem is it's losing an absolute fortune of money. They lost $4 billion in 2022 operating their streaming services, even though I think the number is much higher and they're being very tricky with their accounting. I would estimate it could be 8 billion, it could be 10 billion. It's very bad over there. And it's more money than they lost the year before, even though they have a record number of subscribers. So all the subscribers they add only makes them lose more money. It's really all about Disney getting in there, fixing their streaming strategy, and then fixing their brands. And then ultimately potentially selling the company to Apple, like I mentioned the other day, because Apple, it's more than a $2 trillion company. Disney's a $200 billion company approximately. They could easily buy Disney, incorporate them in. That would be something that would work for both companies. Probably that's coming. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, Bob Iger needs to make, at the very least, he needs to make some changes, fix the company so they can stop losing all this money. The Iger Plus streaming strategy, this is coming from puck.news. Before we get into this article, please be sure you subscribe to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up when you like it. You guys have been great. The channel is growing. I really appreciate you. Okay, so Bob Iger was legendary for big ideas. He is the one that said, hey, let's buy Marvel, let's buy Star Wars, let's buy Pixar. And he fixed a broken relationship with Steve Jobs from Pixar because Pixar was ready to leave Disney because Pixar didn't like the deals that Michael Eisner was doing. And then Bob Iger essentially came in, fixed the relationship, very smooth, great with relationships. He did do a good job there. And they acquired Pixar, which was very successful for them. Now, Bob Iger, how is he supposed to fix streaming? What's the problem with streaming? That's the question. You know, numbers don't lie. 164 million Disney Plus subscribers is a darn good number. It's a good number. That's worldwide. They also have it embedded in a bundle. 40% of their Disney Plus subscribers include ESPN Plus and Hulu, which is great for them because some people will never cancel their ESPN Plus subscription because they love sports. Some people will never cancel Hulu because they spend a lot of time on it. But when you're part of a bundle like that, everything gets kind of swept along. For me, I don't really watch a lot of ESPN, to be honest with you. And I've been paying for it for, I don't know, a very, very long time. So you get kind of stuck. That's great when you're selling subscriptions. Unfortunately, there really hasn't been any great content on Disney Plus. They're spending a fortune on content. They spent $15 billion on their streaming services for 2022. $15 billion. Total revenue, $19 billion, which is actually down, believe it or not. They got more subscribers. So check this out. Disney Plus added more than 12 million subscribers in the fourth quarter, but direct-to-consumer revenue declined from 5.1 billion the previous quarter to 4.9 billion. They're getting more subscribers, but they're getting less revenue, not just average revenue per user, less revenue. Operating expenses jumped from just under $1 billion to 1.5 billion year over year, partly because they're not licensing out their content, even though they could be selling this content they have, this library they have, to other places. You can offer it non-exclusively. That's what Warner Bros. Discovery has been talking about. I think you're going to see a lot of people copying the strategy from David Zaslav's Warner Bros. Discovery, which is, look, put the content that you need on your streaming service to keep your subscribers interested. Make sure it's content that they want to go see. Or, like the Discovery content, very inexpensive and very niche oriented. So it's like, oh, cooking shows, some reality shows and things like that that'll just kill a lot of time. Very cheap to produce. People like it. You're selling it in multiple places probably anyway. It makes money. It's something that draws people to it. But you can't just take all of your content and arbitrarily throw it all on your streaming service and then keep spending more and more money on content and think that it's going to work. Because that's what Chapek was doing. and it obviously didn't work. So how can Iger fix his original plan? The original plan for Disney Plus was great. The launch was great. It generated a lot of interest. It did something that other people hadn't really been doing. Netflix was doing it, but as far as a branded separate company like Disney taking its brands and saying we're going to launch Disney Plus and go direct to consumer, they got a lot of success early on, and a lot of people were excited about what they were doing with Star Wars with The Mandalorian. They introduced Baby Yoda. Like, there was this great creative use of the brand. People thought it could be a return to quality Star Wars content, which would have been great for films. They didn't carry it through because Iger left, and then Chapek came in, and it was just, let's just make more and more stuff. One question is, are they going to put more mature content on it? Because Chapek was starting to think about putting movies like Prey on Disney Plus, which is that new Predator movie. And Iger was always against trying to do that. Netflix, amazingly, Netflix has kind of bounced back. They have been fairly successful. They're generating revenue. They have a lot of distribution. They are also admitting that they need to be generally profitable for what they're doing. So the first thing Chapek did wrong was getting way too aggressive about getting more and more subscribers. Because you can't just say you're going to get millions and millions of subscribers and not get them. When Iger launched Disney Plus, the goal was 60 to 90 million subscribers by 2024. Chapek increased the goal in December 2020 to 230 million within the same time frame, and said he could reach 260 million potentially. Yeah, sure. The thing is this, in business, you try something and it works. It doesn't mean it's going to work at any unlimited scale. So sure, if every Marvel show they did was a hit like The Mandalorian, if every Star Wars show they did was a hit like The Mandalorian, and only added value to the brands, made the fans more excited and positive, and they were talking about it on social media, sure, you could keep spending money on content, keep growing it. The thing is, some of it's magic. You have to create content that people are really excited about. You can't just reproduce that anytime that you want. Chapek seemed to never really understand the content. Prices need to obviously go up. The result is increased pressure to launch new and expensive projects, trying to match that subscriber number that, if we just throw content out, all of a sudden we're going to get more subscribers. They're going to need to raise prices. They are raising prices to $11 very soon on an ad-free plan, and Iger didn't want to do that, but Iger has to be realistic. He's a realistic guy. He knows they're going to have to increase the revenue and decrease the spending. I mean, there's just no question they have to decrease the spending, because all the spending that they do on projects like She-Hulk, which don't excite and create positive vibes for the fans and don't make people really want to watch the show and don't get ratings, it doesn't add to the platform. And there's no way they're going to be able to pay for that long term. What are they going to do with Hulu? That's the other question Iger has to figure out. It depends on how bad their debt is. It depends on what the situation is at the time. It depends on how aggressive Comcast is about wanting to acquire it. Does Disney need Hulu? It also may depend on if they do start discussions with Apple. Does Apple want them to continue to own and control Hulu? That also would create a question in terms of antitrust, because Apple's got 7% of the market right now. Disney Plus has 15%. Hulu has 10%. I don't see antitrust problems with Disney and Apple combining at 22% of the market. There's a lot of other competitors. Prime is a great competitor. HBO Max is a great competitor. Hulu is a good competitor. But if they also owned all of Hulu at 32% of the market, they may have some pushback from antitrust problems as well and not be able to do the deal. With that, I think it's likely that with Comcast has plenty of money. They have their own issues and their own problems, but they have an ability to spend money. I could see a deal very easily where Hulu is sold to avoid that problem with monopoly size. Because once they were to buy Hulu, if they were under pressure to sell it to make a deal happen with Apple, it would be a mess. That said, they do need to figure out what they're going to do. They need to start talking to Comcast about it now. They're supposed to be completing a deal in 2024 for Hulu with Comcast, one deal or another. And Comcast likely would pay a lot of money for Hulu because Peacock is not working. It's not going to work. But ESPN is not getting sold. It's interesting that Dan Loeb started the conversation with Chapek basically by telling him, hey, you know what? You need to sell ESPN. There's no way Disney can sell ESPN. It's too important as part of their bundle for streaming. It's too important for their cable. Even though ESPN has been shrinking, it's just too important to keep people paying attention to whatever it is that Disney's offering. So it ain't getting sold. Apple will buy all of Disney before ESPN gets sold by Disney. I think the odds of that are, nearly zero. They do have a massive debt. They need to fix that debt. They need to fix streaming. And look, the only way they can fix streaming is higher revenue. They need to raise prices. They need to not expect that they're all of a sudden going to get millions of profitable subscribers. At this point, the Chapek subscribers they've been adding are actually reducing their revenue. So it's not good. You don't want more subscribers if it's not profitable. So expect to hear a lot of talk, like Zaslav style talk, where he says, listen, we're not just going to chase subscribers if it's not profitable for us. Yeah, that's what Zaslav said, and that's what Iger is going to repeat, because it makes sense, and they're under scrutiny, and they can't fool around. Hype isn't going to just work. Additionally, expect them to have a better focus on anything that they could put on the streaming service that's going to actually be an event. They would have gotten a lot more attention if they had just done one, even if it was terrible, one She-Hulk movie like their special presentations, instead of 9 episodes. No one wants to watch 9 episodes of that. If it was a phenomenal show like The Mandalorian early on, and people were really excited about it, sure, they'd want to see more and more and more of it. But a single special presentation is cheaper than doing 9 episodes and would have gotten more interest. They can also expand the Marvel franchises that way. They need to respect the franchises more. But that's the kind of decisions to go and look at budgeting production in a much more sensible way, and then also to promote those projects. Because if you've got a standalone Wolverine movie or something like that, you can do that. You can get people excited about that. No problem. And that will promote the streaming service. And it'll keep people on the streaming service in anticipation for that. But you can't just, they've been dropping movies like Hocus Pocus 2, which apparently did well. But it's like, it's a one-time thing. It doesn't even play in to the exciting brands that these guys own. And of course, they need to treat the brands a lot better. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. I'm really interested to see what you guys always have to say. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up when you like it. And I'll see you guys soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.